We're just going to go over a few things that need to be done. The first thing is just to pay attention to the sound and taking a little bit of time to just look at it. So observe the movement. If you witness some where these bushings down here where they end, you might observe that there's some little rings of dust and things like that. That's a good sign that it's time to do a little bit of preventive maintenance. If you notice that your cards are coming out dirty where it's embossed, if you notice that around the embossing, if there's some discoloration, things like that, or if you just notice there's uneven topping or ghost topping and there's little parts that are embossed on the card that are not supposed to be, you just might hear something on the card hopper that doesn't sound right as the unit's going through its motions. We're going to start from the back and work forward. We're going to start with the transport unit. Right, this unit works with sensors and stepper motors, and what the sensors do, they're photocell sensors, and that tells it either that it's in a home position or there's a card present. So on this carriage right here, this sensor, if we pull this out, it tells it where the card is, where the carriage is starting. There's another sensor down here on the base. There's a tab down here that when the carriage moves over, it tells it both the X and the Y position, so that when it's starting out, it knows where it's starting. And then it uses a series of stepper motors here, and there's two on here, throughout to every rotation's a certain number of steps, so it knows how far to go to perform each function. So if you're just performing straight maintenance and you're not experiencing any issues with errors or failures or things like that, you notice that it's dirty, some dust, things like that. Generally, there's just a few things that you're going to need. You're going to need some canned air. I use this Datacard duster. It's basically a little vacuum motor that just blows. That's all it does. You can use, they have vacuums and things that are both blow and suck. Canned air will work as well. So you're going to need something like that. Just a regular, I like microfiber towels, but a lint-free type towel. Some Q-tips are not a bad idea to have around. Our maintenance kit, which is going to be required if you're going to maintain your warranty, it comes with some lubricant, some protectant lubricant. A little brush of some sort is handy. This one is one out of my gun kit that I used to clean. There's various other things that I use that have a few little picks and things that come in handy sometimes. A little magnet tool, a few things like that, but mainly just the lubricant, some kind of a little brush, a rag, the canned air or some kind of a electronics vacuum. And I'll go over a few more supplies that are more specific, but that's just the general. With the sensors, well, first of all, let me go over some don'ts. This transport unit, these bars, and this lead screw, we place the lubricant that we use on that. It dries dry to the touch, and the reason for that is it does not attract dirt and dust and things. And over the course of doing several hundred of these units, we come across this type of thing. You can see all that collection of dust and dirt, and that is strictly due to people putting lubricant on this thing that it shouldn't have. There's another one. You can see the buildup of actual grease on that. This is a different part off the picker. You can see a thick layer. This one's actually like really sticky. And the problem with that is these bushings that run along this bar, they collect dirt and dust in that grease, and then it puts undue strain on these stepper motors. Stepper motors last an incredibly long time as long as it's properly maintained. So the lubricant that we use, it's dry. It does not attract any kind of dust or anything. If you see a little bit of accumulation, it's just due to dust that has made it in there, that it pushed it over to that spot. So from time to time, you first just blow it out. move this over and go over there, and you can see when it needs to be dusted on this transport. You can see, because it'll actually leave, like I said, a little ring of dust that you can see. But you can apply just a light amount of this lubricant. This little needle will bend fairly easily, so watch for that. But it doesn't take a lot. Just put a few little drops on the lead screw, just a kind of a squiggly bead of lubricant on that, and then you can just slowly work it back and forth, and that will spread it out. And just light coats. You can do multiples if you need be. If you look at it and you see there's some areas where it might not have spread, but this isn't acting like grease or anything like that. This is a protectant that dries. It helps protect against, you can do the same thing on this. You're going to wipe it down first. Put a little bit on that. Blow it off, wipe it down if necessary. Because it's the same thing when this lead screw goes forward, the most forward spot, it'll leave a little line of dust. So you can put a little bit on that and work it back and forth. But do not ever use any kind of WD-40, axle grease, moly grease, lithium grease, any of that kind of stuff. That will instantly void the warranty, and it'll cause your machine to wear out prematurely. These stepper motors will go out on you faster than they should. And in some cases, it'll actually get so sticky. We've had these bushings get pushed out of that opening where they slide into the carriage there. So it causes all kinds of problems that are just absolutely unnecessary if you're using the proper materials to maintain these. You can, of course, inspect. Let me turn the light on here. Inspect the belt down here. If you turn this lead screw, you can just look for any problems. Very uncommon, unless there's misalignment or something going on here. They're very uncommon for these belts to have any problem. But the main thing is just keeping the dust and the dirt out, and then if you keep the unit, should be kept in a climate controlled area, dust free. In my workstation, I keep an anti-static mat under it. We use AVRs. This is a APC brand that we've used. We can put a link at the end of this video on different types of AVRs. A couple of them that we've used that we actually sell them here as well. We sell them at cost. Not interested in making a profit off that, but just the proper usage of equipment to maintain this properly. And what the AVR does is it maintains a constant supply of power. If your particular area is experiencing high usage and things like that, air conditioners are being run all over town, it can put a strain on the power grid, and it reduces the amount of available power. And those fluctuations mess with these stepper motors, because it's not receiving the proper amount of power for the proper amount of time, and then it loses track of where it was at. So that's important. Static control, dust, and some of these things we get back, it look like we're sitting next to a deep fryer. Grease, thick grease, and dust and dirt and things on it. It's crazy. Not sure exactly how that even happens, but dry, dirt-free, dust-free area, hard surface, no carpet. It should only be plugged into this unit on that outlet. Don't plug anything else into it, because that's the other thing that happens is an extension cord. A power strip will be used. They'll have a lamp and the laptop running it, or the computer running it, and all kinds of things on it, and then they experience power issues. So in my particular case here, I actually have a dedicated circuit that runs nothing but this unit. And we get units back all the time that were having power issues in other parts of the country that I can't recreate any issue, any errors. It runs perfectly fine, but when it gets back to the customer, they have issues with a variety of different errors. And then 99% of the time, that's due to power inadequacy. So, AVR, static controlled, clean, dust-free area, and then just maintain it. I would say every month at a minimum, every 500 cards, unless you see what you can see evidence that it needs it sooner than that. But at a minimum, monthly, apply it, wipe it off, apply the lubricant, move it back and forth, blow it out, all that good stuff. And that's pretty much it on, unless you're having a particular issue with a sensor or something. Just blowing these out is all you're going to need. And that's the other reason you don't want to use your WD-40 and things like that, because it sprays all over. The overspray can get in these sensors and things like that, and it can create issues there with it not reading right. All right, moving into the card hopper. You can see there's a lot of area that it can collect dust and dirt. So again, you're just going to want to blow it out real well. There are 6 different sensors on this, and you can't really reach them all. So just kind of do the best you can as far as, and that's why part of the reason why it's important to keep it in a dust-free area in the first place. But on the back side and down in here, down on top in here, these doors open, down the side, down low, as good as you can. Under here there's a sensor as well. There's a sensor here on the side, so you can blow down there. And then again, if you just see a layer of dust, what I always do is I'll kind of wipe it first, because it kind of breaks it up, and then I'll blow it out after that. Blow it out real well. But you want to, aside from blowing it out, you can, on this metal frame here that attaches the throat gap motor, you can lift that by applying pressure upward. And you can just feel to make sure that it's moving freely. You shouldn't have any issue with that. You can push this plate in. There's a spring under there that can come loose, but make sure that everything's tight. Just kind of give it a little tug. It's mounted with 2 screws here on the front and 1 on the back, and it's very uncommon, short of having damage from being dropped, things like that, to come loose. So there's a sensor here on the output full, which is easy to access. You got the registration sensor that's easy to access. Again, just blow them out. These rollers on the output, just wipe them off with a rag if they start getting some accumulation. And that's part of the reason why I like these microfiber towels too, is it's really good at collecting. It's kind of has a tack to it that picks up dirt and dust and lint. And you can see just in the testing of this one, I just rebuilt this unit, that it's got a little bit of shiny right there, that foil. And these microfiber towels do a real good job of pulling that off. It's not important unless it's leaving streaks or whatever, but these O-rings last a long time. So you can inspect them for cracks and dryness and things like that too. They should have a little bit of tack to them. They should be feel rubber-like. Make sure that it's spinning properly, because the other thing you can do with this lubricant is, it's a good idea. It wouldn't hurt to when you're doing the maintenance every 500 cards or every month. Just put literally just a couple of drops on the side on this shaft, and then on this other side where that screw is, and then you can work that in there. On the bottom roller, you can push this plastic pulley over, put a couple of drops down there, a couple of drops there, and then again against that side, and then on the other side here, just a couple of drops on the screw side, and then just work that in. But again, the main thing is just be observant, look around, look for potential problems. That, mainly from this is just going to be dirt and dust, unless you see cracked, dry O-rings or this drive belt. That is it on the card hopper. There's not a lot to maintain on that, other than in the maintenance kit we do sell these O-rings. We have a kit that we can get these O-rings and things, but it's usually based on time, not volume. And as long as, it's like any other kind of rubber-like material, the more it's being used, actually the better it is. If it sits idle, it dries out. If you have a mag encoder, there's not a whole lot of maintenance to do that. If you're not having issues with it, I would leave it alone. This roller, the more you touch it, some of these units are very old. Some of these, these rollers, the more you touch it, move it around, mess with it, they can get kind of tacky, sticky, gooey. So I don't recommend putting any solvents or any kind of cleaning on there. If you're using a card that is leaving residue or something like that, the head on this thing is actually, this is just all this roller does is keep the card in contact with the head that writes, which is right here below it. If you're using something that's leaving residue, I've seen units come in here, I don't know what kind of stock they're running that do that, but to leave generally what I see is a white residue on this side of the unit. What you could do is you just take a thermal head cleaner card, and I've got several here. This is just a generic one. This is I think a Zebra brand. Even these FedEx, UPS type thermal printers, you can get those. And what I do is I open them up, and they have kind of a furry Alright, I should open this first. Okay, it has kind of a, and my finger had a little bit of grease on it evidently. They have kind of a furry feeling surface on them, and these are pre-soaked with isopropyl alcohol mostly. Again, I don't suggest putting any kind of solvent on here, but if you think you need to clean the head, and then again, if you're not having issues, then it's probably fine. Just blow it out, and you're going to be fine. Pull this out, let it dry until it's totally dry. You don't feel any wetness to it. Then you can just take, this is the other thing that you might want to have around, is just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Really doesn't matter what kind. Once it's dry, you can apply some of that just to one side of the card, and then the card that has it applied, you can put it under the roller and just rub it, push it back and forth, and that will clean that head down under there. But again, I wouldn't suggest touching that, messing with that, doing anything with that unless you're having an issue. And more than likely, if you're having an issue with it, that's not the issue. There are some electronic adjustments that are made in calibration. There's also some manual adjustments that are made, and more than likely it's something other than that head is dirty. But if you see a film in there, that is something that can be done, but not recommended unless you think it's absolutely necessary. That's really all you can do with this encoder as far as cleaning it. Just blow it out is the main thing. Just keep dust off that head. Alright, moving over to the embosser. Again, you're just going to blow it out. There's 3 sensors on this embosser. You got the home, the wheel home, which tells the unit the position of the wheel. You have a die sensor that tells it the position of the die, and then a punch, which is the same thing on the bottom. It's got the cam and a driver, just like this on the bottom side. So those are the 3. Basically the other sensors on the other side. It's on this side on the bottom. So just going to blow out as best you can underneath there. Blow this out. If you're getting dirty cards, like I was mentioning around the embossing, you might need to clean, depending on the stock and what you're using. If you're using printed cards and things, and this is where your microfiber towel, maybe a little brush, you don't want to put very much pressure on these keys. They're plastic and they can break. So anytime you're putting any kind of pressure, downward pressure to scrub it, put your finger under it to support it, and the same on top. But you can use some alcohol. There are plastic safe other types of cleaners. Alcohol is probably the cheapest, the most common. So and then your microfiber towel, again, you can, after you scrub it off, probably just wipe it off gently and carefully, because you can pull these keys out of the fingers as well. This wheel should turn freely. It's possible that depending on how much you run it, there is a lubricant that's applied inside of here, and it can dry out potentially eventually, but by that time it's probably time for a annual service or more maintenance anyway. But just the preventive general maintenance, you just want to keep this blown off. You can also look for signs of problems, things like that. But obviously, if you have dust and dirt on there, you can blow it. You should be able to just blow that off. Just be very careful around this, because these are very flexible, but they do break and can break. On the foil cassette, on the topper, we'll go ahead and take that off. All right, you can just blow it out. You'll notice that on some of these, you might see some wear on this plate right here. The platen is underneath here. Generally, you're not going to have an issue with that. If you see there's some foil topping that's sticking to that in a position where you're doing a common formatted card where it's doing a lot of impressions and topping in the same areas, it's possible that it gets a little bit of buildup. You can take a little bit of sandpaper. Now, this is very important that you are careful here. 220, no coarser than. 240 to 320 is better. But you can take a little piece of sandpaper. Do not use a knife. Do not use a scraper. If you gouge you gouge a chunk out of this platen, you're going to have a real hard time. You're going to have to try to adjust the card around and the embossing around that chunk, because it's not going to top proper there. But you can grab a hold of here, lift this up, and then you can reach in here with that sandpaper and just very gently and lightly work it off. You might even be able to knock it off just with the microfiber towel and maybe even just a stiff brush. But again, don't mess with this unless you have to. If it's showing signs of uneven, dirty topping, things like that, then try to wipe it off. You can, like I said, feel up here and see if you feel buildup, and then at a maximum, the sandpaper, and just lightly, minimum amount needed, because you can sand the silicone down too, and then you might leave low spots that you have issues with topping. So you just want to do enough in the areas, minimum amount to reduce that. I mean, to remove that buildup. Generally, we don't see that unless you're doing quite a bit of volume. I have the cover off here, so normally you would see the front access panel that goes here. No need really to take that off. It's a Torx T20. If for some reason you see a lot of dust, it might be an okay idea to have it off. This one's on. Turn it off, and you can blow that out. But other than that, we don't want to mess with the motherboard just in general maintenance. This is an O-ring on this sensor right here. It's the foil advance sensor. It tells it that the foil is moving, so that it knows that it's getting a fresh spot of foil for each card. Same thing with that. Mainly just blow it off, but if anything, you can wipe it off with a microfiber towel, and it should be fine. Just on the surface, blow it off, wipe it off, and that's really all the maintenance to do on that. On the rear indent module, there's one sensor down here, and again, that's a ribbon advance. It tells it that it's turning. Every time it turns, the sensor can tell. This is the stepper motor for that. Again, just blow it out. Be careful not to blow your ribbon off the track. You want to look and make sure that the gap for this arm, when it engages in its rear indent applying the rear indent to the card, this there's a solenoid that actuates and pushes it out like this. When it's in the home position, you want to make sure that this gap isn't too close or too far away. If it was out here like that, you're going to probably have dirty card on the back. That rear indent ribbon will get in the way of the embossing on the back side. You'll have black inside of that. So you can just look for that. Again, if you're not dropping it, moving around a lot, or people messing with it, that should never even be an issue, but that's something to look at. The topper does have two sensors. Again, it's got this one, but then it's got one here on the back that tells it when the topper actuates. But the main thing, again, just to recap, is to make sure that you have it in an environment that's dust-free, dirt-free, climate-controlled, not in carpet. There's a lot of fuzz and stuff in that. On a firm, hard surface, preferably up off the ground too, because things tend to get more dusty on the ground or down low. And then just watch and listen, be observant for signs of dust and dirt and things like that, because these bushings will catch that. And like any equipment, dust and dirt is not an ideal situation. So again, to recap: canned air, microfiber towel, a brush of some sort, some isopropyl alcohol, lubricant, which there's only two. Actually, there is one other authorized lubricant. You can use powder graphite lube. It's kind of a pain to get it on here, and it tends to go all over the place, and you'll have it'll be up the sides here and down there. It doesn't take a lot. The best way to apply it is just put a little bit. Don't put it on this at all. Just these slide bars. Put a little bit right next to the bushings, and then work it back and forth. And then on the other side, the same thing. Just put a tiny little amount on the top here, and it's really fine powder. It'll work its way in. But again, just due to the fact that the units I get that were serviced that way, this is a superior way of doing it, and this also provides rust protection, corrosion protection as well. Some Q-tips, not a bad idea to get into cracks and crannies that you can't reach, like under here and things, down in here. Not 100% necessary, but not a bad thing to have. And then sandpaper only is necessary for the platen if necessary, and then maybe a thermal head cleaner if you're having some issues with this mag encoder and you can see that there's a film from something that you're running on the head below. Don't clean the roller. Dry it out. Put alcohol on one side. Run that side through the roller. Then of course the canned air to blow it out. As far as the exterior, you can use just a damp microfiber towel, wipe things down. That's not part of warranty. Doesn't necessarily have to be done there, but if you want to clean the outside. But again, just the main thing is a rag and your duster, and maybe the brush that you can reach into some areas that are more difficult to reach. Don't do anything you don't have to do to it, as far as touching the platen and the rollers and things like that. Keep those sensors blown out. Just pay attention when you're running it, and then every 500 cards or once a month minimum, apply some lubricant. Again, if you use anything other than graphite powder or this lubricant that we provide, your warranty will be void. And it's impossible to hide that. It gets into, you'd have to totally disassemble this transport to hide that fact. It gets in the bushings and inside, and you see evidence that you can't get it on here without it getting down here on the base. It's really easy to tell the ones that have been applied that way. And the only thing you're doing is reducing life of your stepper motors. That's it. If you have any additional questions or specific questions, feel free to contact us and let us know. We'll help you out. But make sure that you're just to keep your units up and performing top notch. Do a little bit of preventive maintenance, just like in your car. If you never maintain it, it's not going to last as long, and it's going to eventually leave you on the side of the road and give you some costly repairs.